The 1974 Emporia tornado is one of the most significant weather events in Great Plains history. Conditions-wise, it is very similar to the 2007 Greensburg tornado, an F5 that killed 12 people and nearly wiped the town of Greensburg off the map. While the Emporia tornado was much smaller and a little weaker than Greensburg, it trekked straight through downtown Emporia, which made it just as dangerous for those in its path, who, because of a lack of proper warning, had no idea the tornado was about to hit. So, without further ado, here is the full meteorological story of the 1974 Emporia tornado. The Emporia tornado was part of a larger meteorological event across the Midwest. In fact, records mention a blizzard, large hail, and localized flooding, all stemming from a low-pressure system situated across central and western Kansas. Before we look at the conditions, I want you to understand how a thunderstorm works. Think of a storm as a bunch of clouds stacked on top of each other. Varying wind speeds at different altitudes, called wind shear, separate the clouds at differing levels, creating a classic supercell look. One part of the storm is filled with warm, moist air rising upward. This is called the updraft, because the air is moving upwards. As the warm, moist air travels higher into the sky, it cools, causing the air to become heavier and heavier, to the point where it eventually falls back down to the ground as rain. This section of the storm is called the downdraft, because the air falls down. This forms a cycle, where the warm air becomes cool, the cool air falls to the ground, and the ground warms the air. This repeats as long as the storm is alive. Now, where the updraft and downdraft mix is where things get interesting. The two winds push against each other, which forms rotation. Every supercell rotates. That's what separates them from your everyday rain cloud. Now, when these very fast winds become tightly intertwined, that creates a funnel, which forms a tornado. Have you ever seen the radar velocity where the green mixes with the red? These green and red dots are actually the cold and warm air of the storm forming rotation. That's all this is, two winds pushing against each other. The tighter the winds, the more likely a tornado could occur. Now, for a storm capable of producing a tornado, you need a few major factors. Atmospheric instability, which is warm, moist air on the ground, rising into cool, dry air in the sky, a trigger, or lift, such as a cold front or a dry line, and wind shear, which, once again, is the change of airspeed at varying heights. The air over the Great Plains was unstable. With Cape values estimated to be above 2,000, clouds would have no trouble climbing into the stratosphere. Temperatures were in the 70s, and the air was incredibly moist, with dew points in the mid to upper 70s. While temperatures on the ground were warm, up in the stratosphere the air was as cold as always, meaning that if a warm updraft rose into the sky, it would quickly fall again as rain. The only thing the storm was missing was a method of lift, such as a cold front or dry line. A dry line is similar to a cold front, but instead of creating squall lines, often seen with cold fronts, dry lines create individual cells, which are ideal for tornadoes. Unfortunately, in the morning hours, a cold front would develop in western Kansas and begin to approach the Great Plains region. Around noon, storms begin to fire up just ahead of the front, and just before 3 o'clock, the first tornado of the day touched down in Oklahoma. An F3 hit the National Weather Service Center in Oklahoma City, causing the branch to shut down for the upcoming days. 12 other tornadoes touched down across the Midwest, including a horrific F4 tornado that struck the town of Drumright, Oklahoma, killing 14 and injuring another 100. As these tornadoes dotted the Midwest, a storm approached Emporia, Kansas. It was a supercell, but no one in the town had a clue it existed. As the storm approached the outskirts of the town, Deputy Police Chief Mike Lopez was positioned near Industrial Road, looking southwest towards the Flint Hills Shopping Center. Heavy rain and hail limit his vision, but amongst them he sees bright flashes of light, power flashes. The tornado has touched down just in front of the shopping center, picked up strength at immeasurable speeds, and destroyed the shopping center in mere seconds. Now it was headed straight for the deputy. He watches as the tornado tears the roof off the Dolly Madison, a Hostess factory located next to the shopping center. As Deputy Lopez sees the swirling debris, he radios into the police station, telling them to sound the sirens. But when the station attempts to turn them on, they are defective. The deputy's car is shaking from the intense winds threatening to throw his car into the air. He jumps out of his car and sprints to a nearby ditch. Tree limbs, parts of the bakery, and shattered glass whirl around him as he shelters in the ditch. He watches the Flint Hills shopping center get torn to pieces. But after an agonizing 5 minutes, the tornado moves past, and the deputy begins to check on citizens inside the Flint Hills shopping center. He radios into dispatch, "Send everything we got to the mall because the mall is destroyed." Customers are emerging from the store in a daze. Some of them are injured. Lopez sees a car overturned, then another, then another. He walks over to investigate a Walgreens struck by the storm. Inside is an overturned car, which was thrown into the air by the tornado. A hissing sound is coming from underneath the rubble. It is a gas pipe, which has been ruptured and is now leaking all over the damaged Walgreens. Lopez is told that a mother and her baby are hurt at the nearby Woolworth store. He rushes over in an attempt to save them. He does not find a mother and her baby, but instead finds an old man trapped underneath the rubble, and with the help of some others nearby, is able to rescue him. The mother and her baby never existed, and Lopez would spend the rest of the night helping with the cleanup. While Lopez was helping those at the Flint Hills shopping center, the tornado became wrapped in rain and almost impossible to see. It hit the Quesada apartments, destroying them and everything inside. Resident Alice Reynolds is killed. A person living in the apartments was in Wichita during the tornado. When a friend informed her that her house was destroyed, she believed it was a joke. Unfortunately, it was not. The tornado also tears through a nursing home, severely injuring many inside. Following this, the tornado moved towards the worst place it could have possibly went, Lincoln Village Trailer Park. Those inside mobile homes have a low chance of surviving even with proper warning, and those inside this trailer park have none. The tornado turns the mobile homes of Lincoln Village into juggling balls. One mobile home is tossed 300 feet into a hedgerow. Almost every home is destroyed. Richard McPherson is with his brother-in-law and Emporia State head basketball coach Ron Slaymaker. Seeing the trailer park hit, they rush to see if they can rescue anyone who may be trapped inside. Inside one of the mobile homes, they find 2 young children and their mothers. 23-year-old Susan Hodgkin, the mother of 3-year-old Danny Vest, and her sister, 24-year-old Ann Hoke, as well as her daughter, 2-year-old Michelle Hoke. All 4 of them are dead. The mothers are buried with the children inside their arms, still holding their favorite stuffed animals. Neva Harding is also killed, marking the last death of the evening and the darkest point of the storm. 5 miles north of Emporia sat a gas station owned by Mr. and Mrs. Justin Love. By the time the tornado had passed Emporia, the police had managed to turn the sirens on. Miss Love contacts the police in an attempt to discover what is wrong. The phone lines are dead. Luckily, someone informs them of the approaching tornado, and 6 people, 4 adults and 2 babies, huddle inside the men's restroom. Miss Love is holding a baby underneath the sink. As the tornado thrashes the building, the sink drops onto Miss Love, who somehow manages to hold onto the baby without being badly injured. The gas station suffers severe damage, but everyone inside survives. Following this, the tornado passes over mostly rural areas. A few farmsteads are impacted, but there are few, if any, documented stories of tornado encounters at those farmsteads. 38 miles after touching down, the Emporia tornado would lift. With wind speeds up to 250 miles an hour, it destroyed $25 million in property, injured more than 200, killed 6, and scarred the town of Emporia forever.